Well, welcome everybody to Senior to Seniors. And today I have a guest coming to us from Manhattan. And I'd like to introduce to you Diane Gilman. Welcome. I'm so
Thank
glad you're
you.
here. Okay,
Yeah, me
so
too.
was the music appropriate? Was the
The
intro
music
music?
was good. I'm a little more hardcore like the Rolling Stones, but I
Oh,
love the
geez.
blues and B.B. King. And yeah,
Well,
music is definitely a huge part of my life.
I've got to ask. It's not a part of this. I'm trying to think, and I can't even remember his name right now. Had you ever heard in your throughout your life of a blues artist by the name of Luther Allison by
You know, it
chance?
sounds familiar, but I'm not sure.
Okay, I had the opportunity to tour with him and decided to go to college instead. But he was
Oh, God. Yeah.
yes. So I'm convinced that if I would have done that, I probably would have been dead by now because those guys, the way they live. Well, listen, I want to read your introduction. I want to give you the proper introduction. And for those that are here in our Senior to Seniors podcast, I think you're going to just love this. So, um, a, a summary kind of, but I'm going to read more. The summary would be TV's Gene Queen, breast cancer survivor, and author to Too Young to Be Old. And that's who we're talking to. She's a pro-aging advocate. Diane Gilman is the unstoppable force reshaping the narrative of aging. Renowned as a serial entrepreneur and fashion rule breaker, Diane's journey from her 60s LA boutique while in college at UCLA to revolutionizing the fashion industry with DG2 Jeans has been nothing short of extraordinary. Diane isn't just a fashion maven, she's a trailblazer challenging society's preconceptions about life after 50. And I think I can mention your age because I think you're proud of it. You wear it and you love it. At 80 years old, she's not slowing down. She's just getting started on
Yeah.
her, what she calls her third act. With a vibrant energy and a commitment to living life on her terms, Diane is rewriting the script for women who believe that the later years are for uh, for just growing, getting bigger, doing better things. And so, before we actually get into any questions and discussions, I want you to tell the audience about your newest accolades from MSN and USA
Oh, this is,
Today.
yeah, unbelievable. The first week of October, I was the cover of MSN.com and as an MSNBC.
Mhm.
And I was nominated and voted in as one of the three top self-made women of 2025. As an overview and an overall look at
Sure.
my career, and at the age of 78, leaving tele-retail to honestly learn social media,
Hmm.
wild, wild west, and try something totally new. Then USA Today came to me and said, "We are voting you one of the top 10 female entrepreneurs of 2026, and you're up for the cover of the magazine." So fingers crossed on that.
Oh, yeah.
Um, I spent my life following my most passionate dream, which was always fashion and to be a top designer.
Hmm.
But everything for me seems to come late in life. I hit that remarkable light bulb moment at the age of 60 when I invented a middle aged jean. And now at 80, I'm suddenly getting recognition
Yeah.
for an overview of myself as an entrepreneur and a self starter. And I think my attitude has always been make the most out of your later years. Your latter years, you are not here by accident. And the universe made that really clear to me when I got a really not good breast diagnosis, breast
Right.
cancer at 72.
Hmm.
and had to go through about a year and a half of treatment, had to step back from television, then get back into it, and realized that I was a changed person,
Yeah,
that I had the facility to be a lighthouse in dark times. And I wanted to refocus myself on helping my generation of females and perhaps the generations below me who, if you put 1,000 women in a room and you ask them one simple question, are you looking forward to aging? Nobody would raise their hand. Women in particular are
hmm.
terrified of aging. When society teaches you you're useless, you're not attractive anymore, be silent, step aside, there's nothing for you to do. And honestly, I find these years of my life the most proactive, the most self creative years I've ever lived.
That's fantastic, and that's so important for especially this audience to hear.
Yeah.
Because I live within a senior community. I'm 71. I live within a senior community, and what I see, not in total, but I would guess in the majority, are seniors that are walking around without purpose, without
Yes.
without having a drive in your life. You were an overnight success starting at 60.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so there are people that, are around me that act old. They're told that they're old, and they are old because they're not looking for the zeal in life. They're not looking to explore new things, being an entrepreneur at 80 years old and so forth. So you are a light for people. And what was so interesting in talking with you and setting this up was to understand your purpose and to be able to talk about your purpose to others. And so I want to start with the jeans, because there might be people here that see you and go, I've seen her before. I,
Yeah.
I recognize her. So the story in your book, which by the way is called Good Genes, the book that I have, and of course you have the other book called Too Young to Be Old. This book that I happened to get a hold of, one of the
My
interesting
first
parts,
book, right.
yeah, that I read was selling 5,000 pair of jeans on on the internet, not the internet, but on QVC, I
TV.
believe. Yeah,
Right. So,
talk about that. That's
okay. So this was typical of my life, and it's probably why MSN voted me one of the three top self-made women. My parents were completely against females, women working. And
uh-huh.
I was one of those kids from the time I was 2 years old, 3 years old, knew exactly what I was meant to do in life. And they thwarted every effort to make that happen. So I left home at a very young age and I never took a dime. And I worked my way into an industry that didn't know me. I could say I was talented, but didn't necessarily, believe it or not, appreciate talent. And so through a series of quirky events, I got on tele-retail. I did not volunteer. I did not want to be in front of a camera. I did not enjoy that kind of scrutiny, although I came to. So
Mhm.
I had always dressed rock and roll stars. I grew up in LA and then moved up to San Francisco with the whole music scene, dressed Cher, dressed Gracie Slick and the Jefferson Airplane, Jimi Hendrix, Janis Joplin, goes on and on.
Yeah,
I was always at the periphery of the music industry, and it was always about jeans. I mean, that was the call to freedom. That was a clarion call that you were hip and you were cool and you were free and you were creative.
yep,
So, for some reason, I got the opportunity to introduce washable silk to America. Women loved it. And I came to be known as an artist who painted all my own silk prints. And all right, I'm doing that on TV. I'm not loving it. I love it, but I don't wear it. I'm
Hmm.
I'm a cool girl. So I get up in years and I suddenly realize I can't wear jeans anymore. There's no jean out there for a woman who's 58,
Uh-huh.
59.
Hmm.
And I really get incensed and I take an entire year and I go on every weekend. One day is just about shopping for jeans to find one jean from one brand that will fit. Never find it. Suddenly, I think to myself, you're such an idiot, Diane. You've got a sewing room. At that time, we still did
Hmm.
in America, in New York. Go out and buy 3 yards of denim. Take your measurements and make a jean for yourself. And I had professional sewing women. Women who go through the change in life tend to reshape sort of like me, as a meatball on toothpicks. And so I made the jean against all industry standards. Bigger in the middle, bigger in the stomach, smaller in the derriere, leaner through the thighs, da 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 da. I wear this jean and it's life changing. Men start noticing me again. Compliments come racing in. So I'm on TV selling washable silk, and I knock on many doors around the industry because you have to have special machinery to make jeans.
Sure. Yeah.
Nobody wants to hear about it. They think it's the stupidest idea in history. I quote you. Who wants to see a fat chick wearing tight bottoms? Ah, okay. Fat old chick. Okay. So in the meantime, at HSN, I did QVC internationally in Europe and Canada, and I did HSN within the USA. We get a new female CEO, Mindy Grossman. She was part of the birth of polo jeans. She was there with Ralph Lauren and crafted polo jeans. I go to her. I have knocked on so many doors. I'm literally bare knuckled. I pitch. She says, okay, you realize we've never, in the history of tele-retailing, been able to sell a fitted bottom. And I say, yeah, but this is different because I'm wearing it every day, 16 hours a day of my life. I know everything about this. I know how to sell this jean. She said, all
Mm.
right, but I'm not giving you prime time. I cannot afford to. Too risky. I get 5 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on a Sunday morning in the middle of February, dark, freezing, miserable outside. Who's going to be up at that time
Yeah.
on
Two
a
o'clock at
Sunday morning?
2 a.m.
And
in California. I mean,
I get a large size host who's a 4X and hates jeans and is screaming at me before the cameras go on. It's you, Diane. I'm not wearing these. I'd kill myself. I'd fall on a sword before I'd wear a jean. Okay, great. Right. Lights go on. We're like, hi, good morning. And I pitch the jean. I'm wearing it as a solution to a million middle-aged women's problems. And we sold 5,000 jeans in 3 minutes. And that's all they wrote. And we could not keep up with production. We were selling up to, ready for this, 25,000 jeans an hour in our heyday. And we went to 100 million a year at retail. Then I took the idea and walked it to QVC and said, please give me a chance internationally. Women, I don't care whether they're eating Wiener Schnitzel or fish and chips or
Doesn't
spaghetti
matter.
and meatballs. They all go through the same change of life and can't wear the same clothes on the other side. So we started in the UK. I asked for a country where I spoke the language. Shot to number one immediately. Italy, number one immediately. Opened France, QVC for them, number one. Germany, number one. Canada, number one. Australia, number one. Yeah, it was
That's
crazy. But I had to, it is a business where you need to be there. So all of that traveling was really, really rugged. That was
yeah,
like back
yeah.
and forth. I commuted to Europe. I would have sometimes two, three trips to Europe within a month, but I was still doing USA TV. So I was somebody who did not resent devoting all my time and energy to building this concept I have with this love of design. But that was my career. You know, that old
So
saying, the luckier, the harder you work, the
you work with,
luckier you are.
so really midlife brought you the greatest success of your life.
Yeah, after, I was always successful, but I never wore the clothing I designed. Now it was super close to me. I
Yeah,
wore the jeans every day of
yeah,
my life. I knew everything about them. And I embroidered them and I sequined them and I jeweled them and I ripped them and I patched them just like I had done for the music community in the mid 60s through the mid 70s. So it was really close to my heart. And I think that heart energy is what made it the amazing and resounding success
success.
it was. And it was, I was never bitter. I never said, why me? Why did I have to wait till I was 60? I said, fantastic.
Yeah, yeah.
I enjoyed every minute of my success.
So Diane, at what point did that happen? Uh, because you were married at the time. Is that
I
correct?
wasn't married. I lived
Okay,
with somebody, and in
okay,
1997, they passed away from cancer.
yeah. So obviously, for 20 years, that was a significant other in your life, I believe.
Yeah, who was very much a cheerleader, who was always there with great advice and
And
tremendous support because it's very difficult to get
mm,
rejected as much as you do as
yeah,
a creative. And, always I likened it to being because I had jobs as a waitress, as a cocktail waitress, as a sales girl in Bloomingdale's. I was like an out of work actor waiting for the next role.
uh-huh,
If you really care about your craft, you'll do what's necessary.
yeah.
And it
Well,
was necessary to keep my dream alive.
and well, obviously you did. And in your book, one of the chapters you talk about is called The Lost Decade. And I found this part really interesting. And if I could, if you don't mind, can I read a paragraph from your book?
Yeah.
You mind?
No.
Because it hit me. Um, it hit me just like I'm sure this will hit others when they hear it. So this is from your book, and this is called The Lost Decade. It says, when I walked through the door of our home after the memorial service for this man who'd opened my heart, shared my struggles, lifted me spiritually, and lightened my burdens for almost 20 years, the silence was crushing. Jim was my lover and best friend, a trusted touchstone. I went to daily for feedback on all things personal and professional. He was my champion and defender, my foundation, my rock. Without him, I was totally overwhelmed.
Yep.
You said to yourself, how in the hell am I going to do this thing called life without you? And you asked that to yourself. So, Diane, how have you? Oh, you still there? Now we're still recording. I'm hoping Diane will come back. So let's just hold tight for a second. Yeah, I'm and see if Diane comes back to us. I'm hoping she just lost her internet service and she'll be back. I'm still recording, and yeah, Diane's story is one that's it's pretty incredible. I hope she didn't mind too much that I read that passage from her book and that it wasn't because we don't rehearse. Uh, I don't rehearse these at all, and so let's just see. There she's back. So let me bring her back and admit her. We're back.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. I don't. This happened in my last Zoom meeting today too. It just kept pushing me off. So
That's okay.
sorry about
Well,
that. Um,
no.
my lost decade was so painful, and I had a situation at home with a father that was predatory and tons of lying and screaming and fighting. And it was really only when I met this man, Jim, that I felt like, okay, finally I've met someone that I could trust and be with. And the other thing was also, I was born in 1945. Where
Mhm.
did I get the idea at 2, 3 years old that I was going to be a famous designer, live in Manhattan, la la? I mean, it just sort of came out of the ethers. Little girls didn't think that.
No, no.
And every man I met, it was like, oh, yeah, designing, that's just a hobby. I'll
Uh-huh.
buy you a sewing machine. You can sew at home, but you're destined to be a homemaker. So I had in him such a confidant, and he died when I was 52,
Okay.
about 50 actually. He was irreplaceable.
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie. He was irreplaceable. And thing, the only opportunity that got me out of my pain was to work. And so I just made work my everything the rest of my life.
Yeah.
No regrets, no looking back. It was what I should have done, and I did it. But it was definitely, if you've met your soulmate and
He was
lost
that.
them,
Yeah.
yeah, and
Yeah.
lost them in a terrible way, because at that time, 1997, cancer was not like it is today, where you have immunotherapy and you have all kinds of
Yeah.
solutions. It was just relentless. And
Yeah.
so that made my cancer diagnosis so much more difficult, because I'd been the sole caregiver and I'd watched him go through so much. And I thought, well, at least he had me, but
Yeah. I
I
have.
have nobody. I'm going to have to go through this alone. And they say your odds of surviving cancer, if you don't have a really structured family around you, are not good. But then
Hmm.
I found that the female community I had built
Mhm.
through tele-retailing and my brand, Diane Gilman, um, they stood up and they were just unbelievable, completely supportive of me. And
Mhm.
yeah, it really helped me through.
Well, and the reason, Diane, that I wanted to read that today is because I don't think that's unlike a lot of women,
Really?
especially who have their lover, their spouse, whomever die and are left widowed. They're widows. I mean, I have them where I live in a retirement community. As I said, I'm 71. I live in a retirement community. There's a lot of women that have no one, and I know they can understand what you wrote in your book because they felt that same. I'm sure they felt the same way. And when you mentioned that the women around you became your family, and I think what I see is that happens a lot for people that don't have family. They rely on other women. Women are their strength, and
Yeah.
so bless you for getting through that and your own cancer. Talk about you had to go through chemotherapy, I'm guessing, and
I will tell you that I was definitely blessed.
yeah.
I sailed through it. And my initial diagnosis was terrible. But I never, ever, ever for one moment believed that I was going to succumb. I
Yeah.
believed it was going to be a one-time thing. I believed that I would come out of it great at the other end. I truly did.
Uh-huh.
And I will tell you a story. So at the time when I was diagnosed, um, I was really well known. Everybody watched cable TV. I was stopped on the streets for autographs. I was stopped in airports. People screamed out, "Hey, Diane!" Everybody knew me. And you start to live in a bubble and believe that you're important.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
I went to an incredible treatment center called the Jubin Breast Cancer Clinic within Mount Sinai, right here on Fifth Avenue in Manhattan. Totally devoted to breast cancer. Beautiful. Founded by Eva Jubin, white orchids everywhere, fresh catered lunches during treatment. You either got a shoulder massage or a foot massage during treatment, no joke.
Yeah.
And your own dedicated nurse. And I mean, it was so well done. One
Mm-hmm.
day, I'm in my room. And of course, I'm living in this bubble that everybody should know who I am, and I'm so important. Somebody comes in the room next door. You can't see them because you have your own private TV room and blah blah blah. And I hear, "Oh, girls, Sheila's here! Oh my God, Sheila!" And all the nurses go stampeding into this room. So the first thing I think is, who the is Sheila?
Yeah. Yeah.
She's either a soap opera star or she's TV star anchor or she's a Broadway star
Uh-huh.
or but she's obviously better known than me because they're paying all this attention to her and I really get aggravated.
Uh,
So the nurse finally comes in to check on me and I said, "Just give me a clue here. Because you didn't even offer me lunch. They knew I hated their lunches. Um, but you gave her four lunches. They're like, "Oh, Sheila, we've got your favorite sandwich. We saved four of them for you." And she said, "Okay, Diane, you never eat lunch. Today you want lunch?" And I said, "Well, no, thank you. But I want to know why Sheila's getting four sandwiches. Who is she? Famous? Not famous?
yeah.
Give me a hint here." I said, "So tell me, she's a news anchor, right?" "No." She's a soap opera star, right? No. Well, she's a Broadway star, like a Broadway musical star, a dramatic star. No, Diane. She's a battered wife living in a shelter with stage 4 cancer because her husband will kill her if she goes home. And those lunches, that one sandwich each day for 4 days will be her entire meal because the food is so terrible in the shelter. I started crying.
Yeah, yeah,
I can barely talk about it without crying.
yeah.
And I realized what my future purpose was.
Hmm.
And so I had to get cancer, the great leveler, the great equalizer, the great teacher, the great enlightener, to show me how privileged, how lucky I was, and how I would get well and turn my light on others
And
in dark
so,
moments.
and so from that, you had to rebrand yourself,
I
right?
did.
So how did you do that? How did you start
First of
that
all, I
process?
made sure that my feelings and my motivation was truly sincere, and it was. Second of all, I had been in the industry, television, for 30 years, and cable TV was slowing down. It wasn't going to pick back up again. And
Hmm.
I thought, I've made my mark. I helped make these the golden years for tele-retail. I could do it in a semi-coma, which is never a good thing.
Yeah.
It's time to walk away and go back to some of the key points of my personality in my youth, which was always forging ahead without and really creating my own path,
Hmm.
taking chances, being excited again, learning something new every day. And I thought this is going to be good for me. It's going to be good for women around me who feel that they don't know their purpose once it's empty nesting.
Yeah.
And I just thought, okay, it sounds reasonable. It sounds like I could be excited. It sounds like I could learn a lot. And it sounds doable. And it is time to start building my legacy
Hmm.
beyond just a pair of jeans. So it was very deliberate. And I didn't really know what I was going to do. And I said goodbye to everybody. It took about a year and a half to get out of it, a year and a half, 2 years contractually to get out of it. Said goodbye. Sat at home for a couple of weeks, thought, oh my God, this is going to be the worst mistake of my life. And then out of the blue, somebody emailed me and said, hey, are you that Diane Gilman from TV? I have a podcast. I'm looking for a co-host. Want to give it a try? Yeah, okay. So I do that for a few months, and I think this is pretty good. You're in front of a camera, but you can do it remotely at home, and you can talk about whatever you want to talk about, and all kinds of women's stuff. And then I took with me my head assistant from my fashion life, and she said, you should try doing this alone. I don't think you're great as a co-host, but I think on your own you could really do it. And I thought, wow, I've never been in front of a camera by myself, but I was always bitching about all the hosts on TV. So I thought, well, okay, put your money where your mouth is. So now I wrote my third book, which was an anthology, a female anthology, um, with a co-author in Europe, in UK. Then I started Too Young to Be Old podcast about everything you can do to have, as a female, more successful aging.
Hmm.
Then they really wanted to see me still in fashion. So we started Fashion Thursdays with Diane, very, very well received and fun to do. And
Yeah.
then we just started something called the 80/40 factor, which is I'm 80. My brand manager just turned 40. And how do we take the same thing, whether it's a pair of jeans or it's a meal out or it's a trip or a vacation or a man or whatever, how do we each see it at these
Huh.
age points? How does she see it at 40 and react to it? And how do I see it at 80 as an 80-year-old female? Um, and then we just got the MSN award, and now we're getting the USA Today award. And uh, it's very satisfying and it's very spontaneous and it's very adventure driven.
Oh, yeah.
So I think I always hate to say stuff like, oh, it keeps you young. But I think that a lot of us do not realize how many choices, valid choices, we have in front of us at a certain age. We think that it's all been taken away from us because that's sort of what society tells you. But newsflash, don't listen to
And I
society.
would, and I would guess especially
Oh,
women,
yeah.
right?
For sure. Yeah,
Be,
there's no room for aging women in society. No room. Get thee to a nunnery, you know.
yeah. So the name of your you've done 238 episodes of your podcast.
All of
Uh,
them together. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And I've listened to several. They're excellent. What is the name of the podcast again? So people here can go find it
Um,
today.
Too Young to Be Old is
Too young
all
to be
about
old.
solutions for aging.
Okay.
Fashion Thursdays, which the audience just loves, is all about fashion tips for the over 50-year-old woman,
Okay.
because the industry still, even with my success, and we stayed at $100 million a year at retail for 20 years, they
Hmm.
still don't want to service older women. So there's no branding for us. So I discuss a lot of how to dress. And then now the 80/40 factor, about how a young woman and an older woman look at the same subject matter and react to it. And you know what? This is, I don't know if you agree with me, but this is the age of customization. Yes, you've got to change your diet. You've got to change your attitude about exercise. You've got to do this. You got to do that. But guess what? You can.
Yeah.
And make it a game, make it a challenge, make it a competition with yourself. I'm going to get better. I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm going to do something much more positive. Or ask yourself, what's your passion?
Hmm.
Maybe you bake the best chocolate chip cookie recipe in your town and you
Hmm.
always take it to any kind of church picnic and everybody loves it. Maybe you want to make that into a small catering business and
Hmm.
just have a project that you do every week or every other week, but give yourself some purpose and something that's formative so you feel like you are still in the flow of society.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right, and I can't agree more with you. I believe it's all about purpose,
Yeah.
and it's all about. So before we go, in your book, in this book called Good Genes, um, you talk about the 10 simple truths And we don't have time to do all the simple truths, but some of them are. Yeah, well, it's really not that complicated. The classic rule book is obsolete. Your life is a self-portrait. The universe is listening. Science is a girl's best friend. Tech savvy is the new sexy.
Yeah.
Dare to dream. Dare to dream. And that's one of the things that you're talking about right now.
Yeah, I dreamt all of this. I dreamt that I could become a podcast star. I dreamt that I could find the way I found it with the middle-aged gene. I could find my niche in the social media stratosphere
Hmm.
and delivering an anti-aging message, but in a super positive way.
Hmm.
I say to anybody, manifest your life. And those dreams will come into the physical
Mm.
one way or another. You've got to be sharp. You've got to recognize them and take advantage of them when they happen. But the basic and most positive thing I can say is life does not end at 60 or
Yeah.
70 or 80. And if
Hmm.
you want to extend your life because, not because you're afraid of dying, but because you love living, find your purpose. It's
Hmm.
there at any age, and it may actually change, like it
Yeah.
did for me through breast cancer, and become something else at 78, 80 years old. But find your purpose and begin to fulfill it.
Well, and your book tells that story. It tells it, and that's why I think this message is so important for
Thank you.
my audience to hear. One last thing. When I do conversations with everybody, I know that there's something that I should have asked you, but I failed to ask you, or something that you feel is really important that you want this audience to know, other than what we've discussed. Is there anything that I've missed, Diane? Is there something in your life, something about you, something in your future that is important for you to tell me to let the audience know?
Yeah, I think the one thing I would tell you is don't waste your time on yesterday and stop worrying about tomorrow. This is a period of life to live in the moment. And no, you are never going to be 40 again.
Hmm.
You may never run a marathon again,
Hmm.
but stop expecting that you are still the person you were when you were 20 or 30. Put a lot of high worth on your wisdom and exactly where you are today. And that will be my best piece of advice because we tend to delete this portion of our lives. Like it's not good, it's not important. Well, it's not that it's not good. Change your wordage and your attitude. It's different. This
Yeah.
period of life is different and unique, and you're going to have to be very active in finding the parts and the portions of this life that you love and make you happy and then pursue them. But be proactive in your own life at this point.
Now that's great. That's great advice. And it sounds to me like at 80 years old, you haven't reached the best part of your life yet. I think,
I like that.
yeah,
Thank you.
I think more is to come with everything that you're doing, and you're so vibrant and passionate about what you're doing. This has been a joy talking to you.
A joy. I loved it.
I'm glad you took time out of your busy
Oh, me
schedule to
too.
talk to me. And I hope people will reach out to you to listen to your podcast. And I will have in my show notes how they can hear you, the books that you
Yay.
have, how they can get your books. And boy, it's been a joy. Thank you so much, Diane, for talking to
Thank
me.
you. Really a privilege talking to you.
Thank you to my audience. I appreciate it. and have a great day, everybody.